Enough respect. Babylon makes the rules. This is Dr. Negus Imhotep coming to you with another episode with a conversation with Ndofor Sama, my young brother from Cameroon who happens to be a Mandela Washington Fellow. He's here today with us, and say hello to the listening audience, my man.
Hello, good people. I'm Ndofor Sama from Cameroon, and I'm here at Des Moines for the Mandela Washington Fellowship.
Yes. Well, Mr. Sama, this is your first visit to the United States?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Okay. 5 weeks deep, huh?
Z.
Could you tell me something about what you're doing and what's going on in Cameroon?
Hello, I'm Ndofor Sama from Cameroon, a country rich in diversity. We are described as Africa in miniature because we have a bit of what all the other African countries have.
Yes.
We are a country of about 320 ethnic groups, and that's where I come from. And I describe myself as the caregiver, someone who was born to ignite hope and to tell Africans that it's time to awake and shine. I am a social entrepreneur, I'm an educator, and I'm a social worker. I currently am the founder and CEO of Ep.7 Holdings, which currently has given birth to 2 startups. Votech, which is a vocational college to empower young Africans from disadvantaged communities with skills and entrepreneurial mindsets in order to add value within their community. And Sama Care, which is a home care company aimed at giving hope, strength, and support to the elderly and children, and also to empower professional women to join their male counterparts in the workforce in order to make Africa what it has to be.
That's beautiful, man. So how long has the organization been in existence?
I started the organization in 2015 as a result of a challenge. So my dad was diagnosed. I took him to India and he was diagnosed of an advanced prostate cancer. And the doctors said he had a very short time with us. So I had to come back with him home. And unlike in America, we have experienced a cultural shock.
Yes.
Where we take our elderly parents who have worked so hard to care homes. Back in Africa, it's going to be a taboo because you have the responsibility to take care of your parents in their homes. So this became a challenge as many of us Africans are taking a new culture. So I had to make sure I respect this tradition to take care of my dad in the comfort of his home. So I started this organization where I empower young girls and men with caregiving skills, and I place them in homes to take care of parents. And this actually improved the welfare of my dad, who lived longer than expected. And this was how so many other diasporans, brothers started contacting me to take care of their parents back at home. And this is what we've been doing for the past 7 years. But then in 2016, war broke out in Cameroon, which has always been a peaceful nation. And diversity became a problem. where the state has been trying to marginalize a group of people who call themselves the English-speaking people, and they have wanted to kill their voice. And these young people said enough is enough, and they took up arms against the state in order to fight for their independence. And this closed thousands of schools. And I happened to be a victim. In 2020, I was kidnapped for a ransom, where I was given the option to give money or I'm going to die. So within 5 minutes to my death, I started reflecting and calling my higher spirit to love and to show care. And behold, my ancestors listened to me. And among these armed men was a student I taught. He said this was a powerful teacher. So what we will do is we will get money from him, but we are going to let him free. And this changed my dynamics. I had to bring hope to my community. And that's what motivated me to start up a vocational technical institution that is going to de-radicalize young men who had taken up arms, but give them skills and a preneurial mindset to take up the responsibility of building a nation and making Africa what it's supposed to be. I was able to get into this remote community and convince these young men, 45 of them, who actually dropped down their arms and came to my institution. This institution for the past 1 year has grown from 41 to 350.
Beautiful.
And currently, as I'm in the US, enrollment is going up, and I don't know what I will do with over 700 young men and women who are going to be enrolled in my institution this year. Africa has over 15 other nations that are going through armed conflict, and so my hope and my objective is to model what I'm trying to do through the other African nations, such that Africa can know peace, or should know peace, because without peace we will never arise and shine.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, man, listening to your story, the name caregiver, that's an honorable name, because in society, a lot of people tend to forget about the care and the love that we should share with one another. And to be in a position where, everybody can't just say I was kidnapped and was held for ransom. That's a life and death situation. And by the grace of the ancestors, they heard your cry and they came in to protect you. Looking at the vocational work that's there, that you're doing and helping to build one of the great vocational schools here in the United States. It was a black HBCU, Tuskegee, Alabama, was built. And Booker T. Washington was his name, that built Tuskegee Institute in Tuskegee, Alabama, and they were a vocational institution, vocational college, university. And one of the Iowa's own, Dr. Dr. George Washington Carver, was a graduate of Simpson College, just down the road here from Des Moines, and then got a master's and doctorate at Iowa State. And he was the farmer that he was a botanist, and he knew farming well. He knew farming from a scientific viewpoint. He could deal with things on the empirical side, and then he'll deal with other things on the emotional side, the spiritual side. Because one thing about Dr. Carver, I remember reading when he was at Tuskegee, he was on the field where the farming was going on, and he was laying down in the field, and a bunch of his colleagues at the university thought he was crazy or something, losing his mind. And they asked him what he was doing. He was an elderly man at the time. And he said, well, I'm listening to the peanuts talk to me. The groundnuts. The groundnuts were talking to him, the peanuts. And he said from that, they told him what to do, and he came up with 30, 40 something different inventions. And peanut butter. Can't nobody do that without no peanut butter here.
I'm telling you.
You know, it was a black brother here in Iowa who came up with these inventions because of that African genius, that seed that was in him. And a lot of people, they called him grandpa at the university because he was like a father. And I could see that coming to you.
Oh yes, I think I'm not existing out of coincidence. There was a purpose for me to be here, and I think me coming to Des Moines was to meet Dr. Negus.
What? Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, because the first moment we met, you identified me and our spirit connected. Hearing what you just said makes me believe in what I am doing even more, because there's a lot of genius in Africa.
Yes.
But the African child is unaware of his potential.
Yes.
The African lady is unaware of her potential.
Yeah.
And I think our European brothers and sisters saw the potentials in us. Mm-hmm. That is why they came for us.
Without a doubt.
Oh, yes.
Well, if you look at any good businessman, you want a labor force that is intelligent.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't want any idiots working for you. You want somebody that's able to do something and know how to do things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last week we visited the John Deere company, and you could see those giant machines plowing fields. While others saw giant machines plowing fields, I saw humans, black, strong men and women plowing those fields.
Yes.
That's what happens in the fields of Africa.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Excuse me.
Men and women get up very early in the morning, together in groups, go to fields, and within hours, fields are plowed, food grows. That is Africa.
Yes. Well, see, as a matter of fact, I tell a lot of my students that Africans was a gift to America. Yep. And that John Deere is just an extension of who we are, because we were the ones, our ancestors were the ones that was in the fields, that knew the horticulture, that knew how to irrigate, that knew how to look at what was going on in the plants, and knew what was good if it was a bad seed, you know? Yeah. Go ahead.
But then, Doctor, I do not blame the Europeans. Rather, I call on us Africans to look within.
Yes.
We have a spirit which we have to connect with, our inner force.
Yes.
You see, I'll take you to the Bible. I don't know if you believe in it.
Well, I pastored a couple of churches in the past, and I'm from down south. They call us Bible thumpers. Okay, go ahead.
So there is this story in the Bible about Joseph the dreamer.
Yes.
He was able to dream that he will become a king. His spirits connected with the higher forces.
Yes.
When he told the world, his brothers, family about his dreams, no one believed in him.
Mm-hmm.
Africans have got dreams.
Yes.
But our current educational systems have been designed to make us not to dream. To make us to to do what has been asked us to do.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer thinkers. We are no longer dreamers. We are just made to be machines. But the African child is not a machine.
No.
The African child is a dreamer.
Yes, indeed.
And nature made it that our brothers, these other way, had to come to get us, to use us. That's what the story of Joseph says.
Yes.
For Joseph to have become a king, he had to have been sold to become a slave.
Yes.
So I take that exchange when Africans migrated forcefully to Europe, to this part of the world, to work as slave. I take that as strength. Our African community here, the African Americans, have to wake up, have to know that they came here for a mission.
Yes.
To become empowered. It's time for them to start looking back home.
Absolutely.
If Joseph never went back home, the Israelites would be nowhere today.
They would perished.
He was sold as a slave for the liberation of his people.
Yes.
I don't know how conscious African Americans are, but I think that's where our spirit connected.
Yes.
Because Dr. Negus, I saw in you a spirit that wants to come back home.
Yes.
That wants to make home. And despite the fact that I was arrested, kidnapped, and almost died, home is home.
Absolutely.
There is no place like home. After the fellowship, I can't wait to go back home. To tell the world how beautiful America is. But also to tell Africans that we can become America. Because Africa has the potential to do business with America as equal partners.
Yes.
And not as second-class citizens.
At all.
Oh yes, we have the resources. But then, resources will get expired.
Yes.
The most important resource we have is our mental resource.
Yes.
And our spiritual resource. We haven't been able to even tap 1 million of our potentials. It's time for us to come back home. It's time for us to look back home. It's time for us to invest in our indigenous technologies.
Yes.
And I think we are capable of producing our own crafts.
Yes.
Aircrafts.
Yes.
Planes. Using our own methods.
Yes.
That
yes.
the European communities will want to get our own technologies.
No.
That is why vocational technical education is the tool.
Yes.
Is the tool to make the African child to think, look from within, think, and be.
Well, being born a son of Africa, that was born in America, all my life, the educational system told me that Africa had nothing. They never achieved anything. They never did anything. And I'm gonna go back, man. I remember. I'm gonna tell you something about my experience as a little boy. Back in 1965, I was in the living room with my mother and father and my brothers and sisters, and we were watching the news, 60 Minutes, a show that comes on CBS. And they were showing the civil rights movement back at that time. And I was watching as a child, police beating people and throwing folks in paddy wagons. And I'm watching men up against the wall while the police had their guns and sticks on them. And they were throwing folks in the paddy wagons and taking them away. People with Bibles singing, "We shall overcome." And after the episode went off, as a little boy at age 5, I walked over to my daddy and I told my dad, I said, "It's not our fault that we're black." And my dad immediately jumped up out of his seat and he grabbed me by my collar and picked me up in the air and held me right face to face with him. And he said, "Boy, you be proud to be black." And I said, "Daddy, but why?" And all of a sudden I saw a tear come down my father's eye, because he could understand why a child would ask him that type of question or bring that type of statement to him. And my dad and my mother, they went and purchased the Negro encyclopedias that Johnson used to have. A publisher here called Ebony Magazine. And they published the term they used to call us Negro encyclopedia. And as a child, I began to read that encyclopedia and started from A for aardvark and kept on reading until I got to Z. Zambia, Zimbabwe. I just kept going Z, all A to Z. I wanted to know everything I could about my ancestry. And here in this society today in the state of Florida, they got a governor over there telling people that we're not going to teach any history about people from Africa. As a matter of fact, he said slavery, black people benefited from slavery, and it wasn't that bad for them. So I know that fight still continues, and that my prayer is that the sleeping giant wakes up.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
You see, Nick, your story is quite motivating to me. I'll tell you, currently, back in Africa, I am an employer of over 350 Cameroonians.
It's beautiful.
But the educational system back in my country dismissed me from school for being a dull student.
Okay. What student?
A dull student.
Okay.
They said I was academically not strong. But currently, I employ medical doctors back at home. Someone who is not academically strong, but currently holds and supports the economy of Cameroon. That is the lion in every African.
My father always told me it's not what people say about you. It's about what you do. Just do what you do. And if you're doing something positive, you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have people to talk about you. But if you're not doing nothing, ain't nobody talking about you.
Absolutely. Your father was very wise. Now, I am happy your father, you answered at the age of 5, you told your father, it's not your fault that you're black. I never asked to come on earth. But the Supreme made me black for a reason.
Absolutely.
He also made a brother, fellow white for a reason.
Yes.
But then if we go back to the book of Genesis.
Come on now.
He tells us in Genesis that I have made you humans like me in my image. The image of God is not white, is not black, has no color. But if another race sees you as a lesser being, then it is you who is expressing yourself as a lesser being. I'm happy you said It's not what people talk about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you describe yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We Africans have to change the narrative of the way we express ourselves.
Absolutely.
Our expressions need to change. We are not second-class citizens.
Not at all.
We all have to work in harmony. Diversity is God's plan.
Yes, it is.
I was amazed 3 days back when we visited the zoo in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
How our brothers this way are able to control animals, wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
But back at home, we are scared of wild animals. And I ask myself, then there is a mental problem.
Yes, it is.
Africans have to arise because the Bible tells us, I've put you in control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The Europeans control the air. They control the sea. They control cars. What do we control? We have been taught to drive these things. But then we have to control. We have to control. And that is why I, again, call on all the Africans, the Black Americans. You will never become an American by the color of your skin. You are here by design.
Absolutely.
Think about home. There is an African saying. There's an African say. When you give birth, when you're taking care of a child, give birth to your own child. For no matter how you try to be one of them, you will never be
them. That's a fact.
I mean, I respect President Barack Obama so much. It's thanks to him that I'm in the US.
Okay.
But then in the White House, we had statements a few years back.
Yes.
That a black man has come to the White House. And that's it, the White House. Those are derogatory statements.
Yes.
Barack Obama has never been born in Africa. He's never seen Africa, but he's not even accepted as the most powerful. He's gotten to the highest level, the highest office in the United States of America. Yet, there are still some who do not consider him American.
That's true.
So let's think about home.
Yes.
I love the African solidarity. I have amazing friends from Europe, from America who have come home. We treat them like kings because it's normal for an African to respect a human being as a human being. When they come, Africa is home. They always want to come back to Africa. But why is it that the reverse is true? When we come this way, why do we have to strive so hard to be given a voice? Because we haven't been able to express ourselves.
Yes.
We have to change the narrative.
Absolutely. There's the evolution of Dr. Negus, because Dr. Negus was not always Dr. Negus. At birth, my name that was given was Claire Eugene Rudison Jr. I was named after my father, a francophone named Claire, okay, and Eugene, another French word, because my grandfathers on my father's side of the family was out of Louisiana, in a parish called St. Helena Parish, north of Baton Rouge. He moved up here to Iowa from Louisiana back in 1915. And he was born in the U.S., but he was a francophone to a degree because he spoke Creole.
Creole.
He was a Creole. That's what all the Arcadian culture in Louisiana. And he picked up on English better when he moved up to Iowa, because down in his section of the country there was a bunch of Creole folks, and folks spoke a broken English and Creole, basically, the French. And it just shows you we carry a tongue that was given to us. And what bothers me more than anything is where being an African American, when I get around my brothers and sisters from Africa, that I can't communicate to them in their language. I know a few phrases where I can do some conversational talk with people who know Swahili. I know a little conversational Amharic, or the people from Ethiopia. Some of the people from Ethiopia, they use that language, but I'm not fluent. And what really irks me is that I have a tongue that was given to me that is not my natural tongue, but I had to develop it. And I'm still working on it, even at my old age.
Dr. Negus, you are part of the link in the missing puzzle. You have a big role to play, and this is the beginning of the role. You've invited us, you've invited me as a guest, and this is not by chance. Now, I have a master's degree in anthropology, cultural anthropology, and I have a mastery to a certain level of the indigenous culture of the African people. I'm going to do a small demonstration here.
Okay.
A comparative demonstration. I was happy to have I'm a physics teacher.
Okay.
So I have a good mastery of what science is.
Correct.
I also have a good mastery of what African science is, which the other people call it witchcraft, a negative connotation.
Yes.
Back at home, my grandmother does not need a cell phone to communicate with me. So what he does is he takes a cup of water, she does some incantations, and I appear in the water and she communicates with me. But then the other people said that was against God's principles, and they called it witchcraft, and they demonized my grandmother and they killed my grandmother. Then now they take a cell phone, they tell me to dial 9, 10 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And once I dial 9, 10 numbers, those are incantations. It gets somewhere and someone appears on that screen, and they call that science. And they tell me how stupid I am, and they tell me how intelligent they are. And we believe it, because we are made not to think, not to reason. Who is more stupid? It's not the other people. We are the stupid people. We're giving up our ways to take another person's ways. You will never be smarter than someone's ways you are trying to copy.
True.
We have to go back to the drawing board.
That is my objective, because, like I said, it was the evolution of my change that occurred through years and years in time. And I come to realize that even though I was brought up in the Christian upbringing, I knew that the traditions of my ancestors were different, even the way Christianity was practiced in comparison to my European counterpart. Because as a group of people, as a group of people, I don't care what religion that the invaders brought, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever they brought, we already had our own.
Oh, yes.
And the way the colonizers did, they did whatever they could to demonize whatever we were doing already. We already had a World Wide Web in Africa before the internet started.
Oh, yes.
Okay? That's why grandmother could get that cup of water and do the incantations, and then she's talking to you because you right there.
Yeah.
Okay? And that power is still here in the universe.
It is. It is. And the Supreme must be very angry with us. For when he gives you a gift and you are unable to harness it, he that takes it away. It reminds me, we still go back to the Bible text, which was brought to us. And that text tells us of a parable of talents. To one, he gave 1 talent. To the other, he gave 2. To another, he gave 5. The Africans have buried their 1 talent and are looking to the person with 2 and 3. But when the master comes, he's going to punish us. He will not celebrate us, no matter the excuses we give.
Yes.
That we were colonized, we were enslaved. Those are excuses. The master does not want excuses. What do you do with the 1 talent he's given you? Of course, we are many millions of years behind the others. But we must awake. And it goes back to the story. I say there's a discontinuity, or maybe the Bible was set up in a way that we should not understand the puzzles. But I think that my ancestors have made me understand the puzzles.
They have.
The parable of the sower comes before the parable of the 3 talents.
Yes.
But that should not be the case.
People.
The parable of the 3 talents should come before the parable of the sower. Because once you are given your talent, you are asked to go out into the world and sow. I discovered my talent in 2015, that I was a creator. I was not supposed to sit in a classroom and listen to lectures that I do not understand any other thing. I'm a physics teacher, but I can't create a bulb. That's stupid. And I teach millions of students theories on physics, but they've never seen a laboratory. And I started to say, this is a good scam. This is a scientific plan to keep knowledge out of us.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was opportune to visit the Des Moines Community College.
Okay.
And I went and I saw huge laboratories. I saw young people who aspire to be automobile engineers. And they have classrooms where they study the theory and they go and they work on the computer. They go and they work on these machines. Tell me why they will not create amazing machineries. But back in Africa, we have students in classroom. They study for 1 year. Theories, and they have never been able to apply. We are always going to seek Europe as our next bus stop. And when we come here, greed keeps us, because we come here, we are comfortable. America provides the most comfortable system in the world. I've never been able to enjoy a 5-star hotel. That's where I sleep. I've been comfortable in good cars. I am tempted to stay here. I'm tempted to work a lot of dollars. But the question is, if I stay here, what becomes of the generations to come in Africa? I must go back home.
Absolutely.
I must go back home and look for a way to make home home.
Like I said, I'm dependent. Just like your nation is dependent on you. And those of the African diaspora who are concerned about back home, we should be funneling information or whatever that you need to use.
Yeah, so permit me make this appeal. I'm coming from a nation at war. I have so many brothers here who want us to be independent. I've now seen independence from another standpoint. Independence begins with the mind.
Absolutely.
Not with the guns.
No.
The guns will only take us down. Last week, during one of my sporting exercise, after I had done a long run, I fell on the ground and I got into a reflective method. And this is what I heard. And these were the words. We Africans have a philosophy called Ubuntu, which we say, but we no longer practice.
Come on.
But the Americans have an individualistic philosophy, which they say, but they do not practice. Now let me explain this.
Go ahead.
In America, if a street has potholes, the American person does not say me, myself, and I. He looks for all possible resources to make the street better for them.
Yes.
But in Africa, if there is a pothole, the African says it is about me. So instead of him looking for resources to build a road, he buys a bigger car that is going to go over the potholes. But yet, we say we are an Ubuntu nation. That is who we were. I don't know if you know the history of where the story of Ubuntu came from.
Go ahead.
Now let me explain.
Explain it.
A white anthropologist visited a country in Africa many years back. And he saw children playing. And in order to keep them excited, he decided to play a game. So, to motivate the students, the young people in Africa to run, it was a track race.
Yes.
Let's say 100 meters race, and he wanted to see the fastest runner. So what he did is he put a bowl of sweets at the end of the race, and he told the children, it's time for all of you to run. I want to see the fastest runner, and the fastest runner gets all of the sweets. And so what the children did surprised the anthropologists. Instead of them trying to be the first, they all held each other's hand and ran together to the finish point, and all reached the finish line at the same time, took the bowl of sweet and shared among themselves. And the anthropologist was amazed and asked, why will you do that? And the children spoke in their language, Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because you are. How can I have a bowl of sweet all to myself when the other people have known? That is where the philosophy came from.
Yes.
But today, we preach the philosophy as Africans. We do not practice the philosophy. We are Mandela Fellows here, 25 of us, 700 of us in the whole of the United States of America, business people who are trying to make an effort back at home. My question to the African Americans, to the Black Americans is, how many of them have pulled up resources in order to give back to these 700 young people who have come and said, brothers, sisters, you are doing good for Africa. Take this and go back home.
Yes.
We come here like beggars to beg the whites. I came with the mentality to beg the whites. But when I saw the African Americans, it's no longer my agenda to beg the white. It is my responsibility to instruct the Black Americans, the African Americans, that it's your responsibility to build home. It is your place to support these Mandela Washington Fellows.
Without a doubt.
To champion these ideas, to make home better. We have money to buy guns, weapons. Those guns will only kill us. We need resources to build our nation, to make welfare, productivity, self-actualization better for all. That is going to stop immigration. Millions of Africans will not die in the Mediterranean seas because they are coming this way to look for a livelihood. Our politicians will no longer be selfish to put their bank accounts this way, to come this way for medical checkup when they can make home a place to be.
Yes. One of my heroes from history My grandfather, who I never met, my mother's side of the family, was a Garveyite. And Marcus Messiah Garvey made this statement. He said, Africa was for Africans, those at home and those abroad. And his plan or his idea was to come back to the continent of Africa and to try to help promote a centralized government. A while ago, somebody stated, we're all Africa.
Oh, yes. So I'm sorry I began my presentation by falling for the trick to introduce myself as Cameroonian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am African.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I've noticed or I've learned from the Americans is, who are you? No one says I am from Des Moines.
Uh-huh.
The first statement that you hear from them is, I am American.
Mm.
And they can only tell you they are from Des Moines
Mm-hmm.
or from Iowa if you start digging deep.
Yes.
We have to put away the boundaries, the border lines that were created for us by the colonials. And we start thinking about African. There was one of the founding fathers of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I won't really call. He said, I'm sure the founder of, is it Ghana, or he said, there is no use for me to be independent if the other African nations are not independent.
Kwame Nkrumah.
Kwame Nkrumah. So the best way for African to be independent is for all of us to be independent, for all of us to take away the borders, and for all of us to see ourselves as Africans.
Well, that day will come when the minds will become liberated.
Oh, yes.
Man, Brother Sama, man, like you said, kindred spirit, we connect. Man, I'm just, like I said, I'm elated to have the opportunity to meet young men like you who has a vision. Said the children are dreamers, but since you was using the Bible said the old men shall dream dreams and the young shall see visions. I'm an old man and I'm dreaming.
Oh, yes.
But you young folks, y'all gotta have the vision.
Oh, because I think you are dreaming and you're in the right way because you've held my hand who has the vision.
Yes.
And the vision is for Africans in diaspora to look back home. We are not asking you to come home.
I want to come.
Oh, yes. For those of you who want to come home,
yes,
come home.
Yes, indeed.
But for those of you who might not be able to come home, look back home.
Yes. Man, I remember, I know we probably conversated and talked about this as well because being a socialized in this country, I remember my mother told my family, my brothers and sisters, that her father always stated that one day, it was back in the 1930s, 1940s, her father said one day there's going to be a bridge and that bridge is going to connect. And they said those abroad and those at home will be able to connect, and will be a highway so we can communicate and connect with one another.
Oh, yes.
And I see that coming to fruition right now.
Oh, yes. I believe. I do not know where it motivated the film Black Panther.
Yes.
But I love the way the film Black Panther ends.
Yeah.
It ends with a rhetorical question. What good can an African nation of farmers offer to the rest of the world?
Yes.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yes.
And I want you to hold on and watch what good Africa will offer to the rest of the world through vocational technical education. by using our indigenous technologies, we are going to be the next big thing to provide, to solve the challenges that the world is facing.
I concur with you totally. As I stated earlier, I was talking to someone a while ago that from the beginning of time, the 1960 was that year where there was flag independence all over Africa. That was the year that I was born, 1960. And flag independence occurred, but indirect rule was there because some of the colonializers left out, but they kept people who thought like them.
Oh, yeah. So
they ruled indirectly. Man, I'm just thankful for you, and I know we're going to maintain this brotherhood, this connection that we have to correspond and do things to try to help.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this opportunity to make my little contribution to the world and to Africa.
All right, man. Man, I'm just elated and thankful. We are closing up another episode of Babylon Makes the Rules. I had a conversation with Ndofor Sama, my African brother. Until next time, big up everybody. Enough reggae music. We're coming along. Bye now.